My friends, there have been many times in my 35 years as a priest when my life has changed on a dime, and that dime usually comes by way of a phone call from the bishop. January 1st, 1988, New Year's Day, 11 o'clock in the morning, I became a sociologist. When I answered the phone, I was a very happy parish priest at St. Mary's in Lynn, and the phone call came, and the Archdiocese of Boston needed a sociologist to teach and to lead the social science department at the seminary. And so off I went to Southern California to enroll in a PhD program in sociology, and I didn't even have an introduction to sociology course in my background, but off I went. One of the great blessings at University of Southern California was the Newman Center. Many of you may have children or grandchildren who are at college now. We pray for their safety and their well-being. And the Newman Center is a great place for Catholics to gather. And I would go as a student to daily Mass and be just like you, sitting there. And we had a new priest assigned to the Newman Center, and his name was Father Martin Jenco. Father Martin Jenco. It was his first assignment after being held captive in Lebanon for 564 days of torture. And Martin was there and I was there, and after about 2 weeks of daily Mass, I went to introduce myself to him. And I said, hello, Father Marty, I'm Rich Erikson. I'm a priest from the Archdiocese of Boston. He said, you're a priest? I said, yes, I'm a priest. He was such a kind and gentle man. I have a picture here of him, and kindness is even shown in his face. He looked somewhat like Santa Claus. He had a big white beard, and he was a very humble and a beautiful man. And he has told the story of his captivity in an amazing book called Bound to Forgive. An absolutely amazing book. If you are having trouble forgiving anyone for anything, I urge you to get his book. I was on Amazon this week preparing for my homily, and Martin's book has 5-star rating by every single person who's purchased his book on Amazon. It was January of 1985 when Martin was the head of Catholic Relief Services in Lebanon, and he was captive by 5 Muslim radicals. They duct taped him from head to toe, leaving just enough space for some breathing, and they bound him under a truck and drove him for miles into the countryside. They bound him on the bottom of the truck so he wouldn't be found by police or if the vehicle was inspected. And he was certain he was going to die that day, either from suffocation or from the rocks and debris that were coming and battering his body. For those 564 days, he was chained to a radiator in a closet, often naked. He was beaten. He was permitted one trip to the bathroom on most days. He was tortured. The guards were extremely cruel to him. He prayed and he prayed and he prayed. He had a sackcloth that he made into a rosary, and that was a major way of praying. Obviously, he couldn't celebrate Mass, but one day he had an orange peel, and that was the closest he could get to communion in captivity. They would tell him that he was being released, and they would wash him up and they would dress him up, and then he wasn't going to be released. They were just playing with his mind. They took him up to the top of a building and put him on the edge of the building, put a gun to his head and fired with blanks. This is how he was tortured. At the end of his captivity, one of his guards came to him and said to him, "Dear Father," first time he was ever called Father there, "Dear Father, will you forgive me?" Can you imagine that? "Dear Father, will you forgive me?" And Martin said to him, "Yes, I will forgive you, but I need to turn to God as well to ask for the forgiveness in my heart for the anger I have towards you." My friends, in our gospel reading, we heard that what you declare bound on earth shall be bound in heaven, and what you declare loosed on earth shall be loosed in heaven. We are called to be extraordinary vessels of forgiveness. Father Martin was bound to forgive. You are bound to forgive, and I am bound to forgive. When we pray in the Lord's Prayer, "Forgive us as we forgive those who have trespassed against us," that is an extraordinary prayer that we make. Let us live up to those words that we pray every single day, because all of us are bound to forgive.